Behind gleaming mansion gates and luxury cars often lurks something money can't wash away: prejudice. Some of society's wealthiest figures build fortresses not just of marble and gold, but of judgment and bias. They create invisible walls, deciding who belongs and who doesn't based on skin color rather than character. Their discrimination comes wrapped in expensive packaging: polite smiles that don't reach cold eyes, backhanded compliments, and concerns about fit. Today's story strips away that veneer of respectability to reveal how wealth and privilege sometimes mask the ugliest human instincts, and how one child's pure heart challenged an entire system of belief. Meet Mr. Landon, a self-made millionaire whose portfolio boasts elite business ventures across 3 continents. His sprawling estate, immaculate reputation, and carefully curated social circle represent everything he values: order, tradition, and status. Yet behind this polished exterior hides a man whose views remain frozen in a bygone era. When his disabled daughter Layla needs a full-time caregiver, the universe sends Amani, a compassionate, qualified black woman whose warmth and dedication make her perfect for the role. But Mr. Landon sees only the color of her skin, not the content of her character. What he never anticipated was Layla, his own daughter, who navigates the world from her wheelchair with extraordinary resilience and wisdom. While Landon's prejudice builds walls, Layla's heart builds bridges. Her unwavering attachment to Amani creates the collision course that will force her father to confront his deepest biases. The greatest teachers often come in unexpected packages, don't they? Children see with unclouded eyes what adults miss through prejudice-fogged vision. Their hearts connect without the baggage of learned bias. Have you ever witnessed someone's prejudice melt away because of a child's wisdom? That moment when hardened views crack under the weight of innocent truth? Share your experiences in the comments below. Have you changed someone's mind about difference? Or has a child's perspective changed yours? Your stories matter. They remind us that transformation is possible even in the most resistant hearts. Let's build this conversation together. The Landon estate stood as a monument to success: 12 acres of manicured perfection, surrounding a colonial mansion with 27 rooms. Inside, rare antiques and custom furnishings created an atmosphere that whispered of old money, though Charles Landon had built his fortune himself. His morning routine never varied: breakfast at 7:15 sharp, the Wall Street Journal with black coffee, followed by a Mercedes ride to his downtown office tower. His social circle consisted exclusively of fellow executives, politicians, and heirs to generational wealth. At 62, Landon had developed inflexible views on how the world should operate. His household staff, always white, always from acceptable backgrounds, maintained precise standards. For Landon, control equated to comfort, and diversity represented chaos. His charity work was generous but calculated, favoring organizations that enhanced his business connections rather than those addressing systemic inequality. In sharp contrast lived 14-year-old Layla, born with cerebral palsy that affected her motor control and confined her to a wheelchair. Where her father demanded perfection, Layla embraced beautiful imperfections. Her bedroom walls displayed her own artwork: vibrant, messy watercolors that celebrated life's unpredictability. Despite needing assistance with daily tasks, Layla radiated independence of spirit. Her laugh, unrestricted and joyous, echoed through halls designed for whispered conversations. When physicians suggested limitations, Layla found creative alternatives. Her wheelchair wasn't a prison, but her freedom, customized with bright colors and stickers from every place she'd visited. Where Landon saw the world in rigid categories of acceptable and unacceptable, worthy and unworthy, Layla recognized only possibilities and connections. His world operated through transactions, hers through relationships. While he assessed people based on appearance, pedigree, and utility, she measured them by kindness, authenticity, and how they made others feel. The father built his life segregating himself from difference. The daughter thrived by embracing it. His legacy was built on marble and money, hers on compassion and courage. Their philosophical divide extended beyond a generation gap. It represented 2 competing visions of humanity. Landon had created a fortress against the changing world, while Layla opened windows to let fresh air circulate through rooms that had remained closed too long. Amani Jefferson arrived at the Landon estate with impeccable credentials, a master's degree in special education, 8 years of experience with clients with physical disabilities, and glowing references from prominent families across 3 states. At 34, she carried herself with quiet confidence, born from overcoming substantial obstacles. Raised by a single mother in a neighborhood where resources were scarce but determination abundant, Amani had worked multiple jobs to fund her education. Her approach to caregiving transcended mere professionalism. It was her calling. Beneath her formal resume lay a woman whose compassion stemmed from personal understanding of struggle. Her own brother's battle with multiple sclerosis had taught her that dignity matters as much as medical care. Amani's methodical competence was matched only by her instinctive ability to recognize each client's unique needs beyond their diagnosis. Mr. Landon's displeasure was evident from their first meeting. Though the agency had sent Amani's credentials ahead, his eyes narrowed when she entered his study. "I expected someone different," he said, the pause heavy with unspoken bias. Throughout the interview, he questioned her experience repeatedly, each inquiry laced with skepticism, despite the answers in her portfolio. When forced to accept her employment due to her qualifications, Landon established unnecessary restrictions. "You'll report directly to Mrs. Harrison, the house manager," he instructed. "Any decisions regarding my daughter require my explicit approval." He created arbitrary rules about which entrances she could use and which rooms she could access. During her first week, Landon hovered nearby, monitoring interactions with clinical detachment. At dinner parties, he introduced her as the help, rather than by name or title, his tone suggesting temporary inconvenience rather than valued assistance. Their connection sparked during Layla's first physical therapy session under Amani's guidance. When Layla struggled with an exercise, frustration clouding her face, Amani didn't offer empty encouragement. Instead, she shared, "When I was learning to help my brother, I dropped him twice in one day. We laughed until we cried." Layla's eyes widened, then she burst into genuine laughter. "No one ever tells me their mistakes," she confessed. From that moment, barriers dissolved. Amani treated Layla not as a condition to manage, but as a person to know. She noticed how Layla tilted her head when curious, how she tapped her left thumb when excited. These small observations, this seeing of her authentic self, formed the foundation of profound trust. Mornings in the Landon household transformed under Amani's care. What once were clinical routines became moments of connection. During physical therapy sessions, Amani created games that made exercises feel like adventures. "Let's get those star-reaching arms today," she'd encourage as Layla stretched toward the ceiling. Their morning ritual evolved to include sharing dreams from the previous night. Layla's often filled with flying, Amani's with ocean waves. They developed a secret language of sorts. When Layla felt overwhelmed in public, a simple touch on her shoulder from Amani meant, "I'm here, we can leave anytime." When Amani succeeded in helping Layla master a challenging task, they celebrated with their signature handshake, a complex sequence ending with jazz hands that never failed to produce giggles. The wheelchair incident revealed the depth of their bond. When Layla's customized chair malfunctioned during a park outing, leaving them stranded far from the car, panic might have ensued. Instead, Amani transformed the moment into an impromptu picnic. She carried Layla to a nearby bench, called for assistance, and pulled out emergency snacks from her ever-prepared bag. They spent 2 hours cloud-watching and making up stories about passersby. Their music sessions became legendary within the household. Amani discovered Layla's passion for percussion and brought specialized adaptive drumsticks. Staff members would pause outside the door, listening to Amani's smooth vocals complemented by Layla's rhythmic beats. During one particularly difficult physical therapy session, when pain brought tears to Layla's eyes, Amani softly sang "Lean on Me" until Layla could continue, creating a moment of vulnerability and strength that bonded them forever. From doorways and hallways, Landon observed these interactions with increasing frequency. Initially, his scrutiny sought confirmation of his prejudices, evidence that Amani was merely performing care rather than providing it genuinely. Yet what he witnessed contradicted his expectations. During a business dinner at home, Layla had an accident with her drink. Before embarrassment could overwhelm her, Amani smoothly redirected attention with a story about a senator who once spilled wine on a queen. Landon noticed how his daughter's shame dissolved into laughter. His certainty began wavering when he overheard Amani discussing college options with Layla, speaking not of limitations but possibilities. "Your mind works in extraordinary ways," she told Layla. "Any university would be fortunate to have you." The respect in her voice was unmistakable. Stories like this reveal how authentic connections break through artificial barriers every day. They remind us that transformation happens in quiet moments of understanding, not grand gestures. If this narrative of overcoming prejudice through relationship is touching your heart, hit that like button now. Subscribe to Black Narratives to receive more powerful stories about human dignity, courage, and the possibility of change. Our community values your experiences too. Your story might inspire someone else's journey toward greater compassion. Ready to continue this powerful journey together? October brought early darkness and unexpected storms. Rain lashed against windows, while wind howled through the estate's ancient oaks. Inside, another storm was brewing. Mr. Landon stood in his wood-paneled study, fingers drumming against his mahogany desk as he awaited Amani's arrival. The catalyst had been the Westbrook Foundation dinner, an exclusive gathering where wealthy donors discussed charitable allocations. When his regular driver fell ill, Landon had reluctantly allowed Amani to accompany them as Layla's aide. Throughout the evening, Amani engaged effortlessly with academics and executives about educational reform. Dr. Marquez, the university president, had been particularly impressed, asking for Amani's contact information regarding a disability inclusion initiative. For Landon, this boundary crossing proved intolerable. Amani had stepped beyond her designated role, threatening the social order he maintained. He'd made his decision before she even entered the room. "Miss Jefferson," Landon began, formality creating distance, "I believe our arrangement has reached its conclusion." His voice remained steady, as if discussing a minor business transaction rather than a relationship crucial to his daughter. Amani stood straight, hands clasped before her. "May I ask why, Mr. Landon?" "Your approach doesn't align with our family values," he replied. "The relationships you've encouraged Layla to form with staff are inappropriate. The boundaries between caregiver and employer must remain clear." When Amani attempted to respond, he raised his hand. "My decision is final. You'll receive 2 weeks severance. Mrs. Harrison will assist in finding your replacement." His dismissal complete, he turned toward his papers. Conversation concluded. "With respect, sir," Amani's voice remained steady, "I believe Layla deserves input on decisions affecting her daily care." Landon's head snapped up. "I determine what's best for my daughter." Neither had noticed Layla's wheelchair in the doorway until she spoke. "No, Dad, not this time." Layla wheeled herself fully into the room, positioned between them. At 14, she rarely challenged her father, making her current resolve more powerful. "Amani stays." "This isn't your decision," Landon countered. "It's my life," Layla replied, her voice soft but unwavering. "Before Amani, my caregivers treated me like a medical condition. She treats me like a person with dreams." She reached for Amani's hand. "She's the first person who made me believe my future isn't limited by my wheelchair." When Landon insisted they continue the discussion privately, Layla shook her head. "Whatever you say to me, you can say in front of Amani." Something shifted in Landon's expression, recognition that his authority had limits. His daughter, usually compliant, now revealed unexpected strength. The rain intensified outside, punctuating the silence. "You can't understand the complexities," Landon tried again. "I understand loyalty and respect," Layla countered. "I understand that Amani has shown me both when others showed pity." The naked emotion in his daughter's eyes, determination mixed with plea, struck Landon with unexpected force. For the first time, he saw not a child to protect, but a young woman with moral clarity that exceeded his own. Her hand remained firmly in Amani's, their connection a visible challenge to his prejudice. "She stays," Layla repeated, "or I go with her." The confrontation with Layla left Landon shaken. For 3 days he retreated into his work, burying discomfort beneath spreadsheets and conference calls. Yet in quiet moments doubt crept in. Had he truly acted in Layla's best interest, or merely his own comfort? During dinner, he noticed the empty chair where Amani usually sat beside Layla. His daughter ate mechanically, responding to questions with minimal words. The vibrant conversation that once filled their meals had vanished. At night, passing Layla's room, he heard no music, no laughter, only silence. From his study window, Landon observed Amani and Layla in the garden during therapy sessions. He watched their synchronized movements, their shared smiles, their obvious trust. The professional distance he demanded from caregivers seemed hollow compared to the genuine connection before him. For the first time, he questioned whether his rules served his daughter or merely reinforced his prejudices. The revelation came unexpectedly through photographs. Sorting through family albums, Landon found images of his own grandmother, a stern-faced woman who had raised him after his parents' death. Beside the formal portraits lay candid snapshots showing his grandmother with her caregiver, Martha, a black woman who had worked for their family for 30 years. In these unguarded moments, he recognized the same bond he now witnessed between Layla and Amani. He remembered Martha's unwavering kindness, how she had taught him to tie his shoes, comfort him during nightmares, celebrate his achievements. Yet his family had never invited her to their table, never acknowledged her as more than the help. The weight of this realization struck him physically. How often had he repeated patterns of exclusion without questioning their origin? How many times had he judged competence through the lens of skin color rather than character? The comfortable narrative he'd constructed about himself, fair-minded, meritocratic, ethical, crumbled under scrutiny. That evening, Landon researched the history of domestic workers in America. He learned how black women had been systematically channeled into household labor, often facing exploitation, harassment, and invisibility. Despite providing essential care that enabled others' success, they remained undervalued, underpaid, and unprotected. The parallels to his treatment of Amani were undeniable. He had employed her expertise while diminishing her humanity, benefited from her care while denying her dignity. His standards weren't about professionalism, but power, maintaining hierarchies that privileged people who looked like him while marginalizing those who didn't. Growth begins when we question our deepest assumptions. The beliefs we hold most firmly often deserve our most careful examination. Have you ever had to confront your own biases? What moment forced you to recognize prejudice in yourself? Was it a child's innocent question, a friend's gentle challenge, or your own reflection that finally broke through? Share your journey in the comments below. Your honesty might help someone else recognize their own blind spots and begin their path toward greater understanding and compassion. The following Sunday morning, Landon requested a meeting with Amani in the garden pavilion. Neutral ground, away from his imposing study. He arrived early, rehearsing words that felt insufficient against the weight of his actions. When Amani appeared, her posture conveyed caution, but her eyes remained direct and unflinching. "Thank you for coming," he began, voice unexpectedly rough. "I've spent days reflecting on my behavior toward you. It was inexcusable." He paused, abandoning prepared phrases for raw truth. "I judged you based on appearance rather than character. I denied your humanity while benefiting from your expertise. My treatment of you dishonored both your professional dedication and my own stated values." Landon met her gaze directly. "I was wrong, Miss Jefferson, completely wrong. I ask your forgiveness, though I've done nothing to earn it. More importantly, I ask you to stay, not for my sake, but for Layla's. And if you choose to remain, I promise things will be different." Silence filled the space between them, heavy with unspoken history. This wasn't simply an employer correcting a mistake, but a man confronting generations of injustice he had perpetuated. The autumn breeze rustled leaves around them as seconds stretched into minutes. Amani's expression remained measured, assessing the authenticity of his words. When she finally spoke, her voice carried quiet strength. "Your apology matters, Mr. Landon, but your actions matter more." "I understand," he nodded, shoulders dropping with relief at her implied acceptance. "No," she corrected gently, "I don't think you do, yet, but you're beginning to, and that's important." The exchange carried weight beyond their individual relationship. It represented countless conversations never allowed to happen, apologies never offered, dignity never acknowledged. In that garden pavilion, something shifted. Not just between two people, but in the invisible architecture of power that had defined their interactions. From her vantage point near the rose trellis, Layla witnessed the exchange. She had positioned herself there intentionally, ready to intervene if necessary. As the conversation concluded with Amani's cautious nod of acceptance, Layla wheeled forward into view. Her face glowed with quiet pride. "Dad," she said simply, reaching for his hand. No grand declaration followed, just her fingers interlacing with his, a gesture more powerful than words. The girl who had stood firm against injustice now acknowledged courage with equal conviction. Her expression conveyed what words couldn't, recognition of how difficult this step had been for him, appreciation for his willingness to change, and hope for what might follow. Together, the three walked back toward the house, their altered dynamic visible in their formation, no longer hierarchical but side by side. Over the following months, the Landon estate underwent profound changes. The formal dining room, once reserved for business associates, now hosted weekly community dinners, where staff members shared meals with the family. Doors previously closed remained open. Conversation replaced command. Most notably, decision-making shifted. When selecting new household equipment for Layla, Landon invited Amani to join vendor meetings as an equal partner. Her expertise was acknowledged openly, her suggestions implemented without question. The staff noticed the change immediately. Respect flowed both upward and downward, creating an environment where dignity became the foundation rather than an afterthought. Landon's transformation extended beyond his home. He established the Inclusion Initiative, a foundation providing career advancement opportunities for caregivers from marginalized communities. At board meetings where diversity had once been merely a buzzword, he now challenged colleagues directly. "How many of your executive positions are held by people of color?" His most controversial move came when he testified before the state legislature supporting domestic workers' rights legislation. "These professionals care for our most vulnerable loved ones," he stated firmly. "They deserve fair wages, benefits, and workplace protections." Former associates questioned his new direction, but Landon remained steadfast. His privilege, once a wall, had become a platform. With Amani's guidance, Layla's confidence soared. She joined the school debate team, her articulate arguments winning regional championships. Her art was featured in a gallery showcasing disabled artists. Most significantly, she began mentoring younger children with disabilities, sharing the self-advocacy skills she had learned. "My wheelchair doesn't define my boundaries," she told a group of parents. "Amani taught me that my voice matters, and so does everyone else's." The changes within one household created waves throughout their community. Friends who had initially distanced themselves from Landon's radical new perspectives gradually reconsidered their own hiring practices. Local businesses, inspired by Layla's advocacy, improved accessibility. The most powerful impact, however, remained invisible. Countless private reckonings with privilege and prejudice sparked by one man's willingness to grow. Children possess an extraordinary clarity of vision. Uncorrupted by society's prejudices, they recognize humanity where adults often see categories. Layla didn't evaluate Amani through filters of race or status. She simply responded to kindness, competence, and genuine connection. Her insistence on this truth ultimately broke through barriers her father had maintained for decades. This wisdom of children appears throughout history's greatest civil rights advances. Their innocent questions, "Why can't they drink from our fountain? Why can't my friend come to my school?" have exposed the illogical nature of discrimination more effectively than scholarly arguments. Their ability to love without qualification reminds us that prejudice is learned, not innate. What powerful changes might occur if we allowed children's moral clarity to guide our institutions? The transformation in the Landon household demonstrates how authentic relationships dismantle prejudice more effectively than abstract principles. When we truly see individuals rather than stereotypes, when we value connection over conformity, barriers begin dissolving. This story isn't merely about one wealthy man overcoming bias. It illustrates how systems of inequality can be reimagined through brave confrontation and genuine care. The most enduring social changes begin in personal relationships, where compassion challenges comfortable assumptions and love reveals our shared humanity. This narrative reminds us that growth is always possible, even for those most resistant to change. If this story touched your heart today, please subscribe to Black Narratives for more powerful accounts that challenge us to examine our beliefs and expand our understanding. Hit the notification bell to ensure you never miss our weekly uploads. Share this video with someone whose perspective might be transformed by witnessing this journey. Your simple act might create ripples of change in ways you'll never fully witness. Together, we're building a community dedicated to honest conversations about justice, dignity, and our collective humanity.